So often in our personal lives, we have ongoing issues, and the way that we deal with them is to have ongoing arguments over how to handle them, especially if, say, two partners or spouses in a relationship have a different viewpoint about what needs to be done. In the story that I'm going to tell right now, a man named Jose was in a partnership with a woman named Idalia, and she had a daughter that was 17 by a previous marriage. And her daughter was very popular at school and also very rude at home. And so Jose and Idalia had been in arguments in the past about how to handle that situation. And he kept feeling like she was letting her daughter treat her badly, and you know, they would argue over it. And so after he decided to really work with how to make non-defensive statements, he went back and talked with her again. And one of the ways to make a non-defensive statement is really to do it in a way where you're just telling your own story, almost as if you were telling a third party. And so he went to her and he said, I want to talk to you another time about the situation with Carmen. And when I see her be so popular at school and all the kids love her, and she's actually really kind to everyone and compassionate and generous, and she's a straight A student, and her performance in everything is fantastic. And then I see her come home and treat you rudely and not be willing to help around the house, and I see you let her get away with it. And you know, sometimes I get just so angry at her for how she treats you, and other times I mean, well, and when I get angry at her, I mean, I guess I also feel really sad for you that you have a daughter that's treating you that way. And then at other times, really the person I'm angry at is you for letting her do it. And then I feel really sad for her because it just feels like you're teaching her to treat family worse than she treats anybody else. And Idalia said, I don't care. I feel guilty about the divorce. I'm not going to do anything different. She'll be gone in a year. And now that's the moment. That's the moment. Even if you've started out giving a really clear statement without trying to convince, without trying to prove your point, just expressing what you're seeing, what you're experiencing. But when somebody goes, no, I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing for the whole next year and then she'll be gone, there's a big urge to want to say, well, can't you see you've still got a year, you could still help her. But Jose did a beautiful job of not doing that. And so he didn't argue with her. He didn't take that bait. And I mean, I think he probably felt kind of discouraged. But actually, you know, one of the things he said to me was that when he walked away, he felt really clear because he hadn't tried to argue and he had just said what he needed to say, and then he stopped and he went away and he didn't get hooked into the argument. He was stunned later that night when he heard something going on in the kitchen, and he heard Dahlia talking to Carmen. So he kind of walked over a little closer to the door, and all of a sudden he heard Idalia saying to Carmen, I'm teaching you how to treat I'm teaching you to treat family worse than you treat anybody else. I mean, she had just said she was never going to change in a whole year, and now she's actually quoting him and dealing directly with the issue with her daughter. The question is why? What made her shift so suddenly in the same day? And I believe that when we don't try to convince somebody else of something, when they walk away, they're not already backed into a corner. They haven't already gone into that mind state that's defensive. And so by the fact that Jose just stopped after he had told the story of what he was experiencing and what he was seeing, that she didn't have that big defensive reaction that she might have otherwise had, which would have kept her doing the same thing probably for the whole next year. Instead, within less than a few hours, she had completely shifted. It's almost as if when we don't try to force the other person to hear us, that's when they hear the bell ringing. That's when they can actually take in and and learn, perhaps, so much better from someone else's wisdom.